What up, y'all? In this video, I'm going to show you what I believe to be the easiest way to make money online in 2026. If you pay close attention, if you're an action taker, realistically, like completely possible, you can pay attention to this, take action on what I teach you here, start doing this tonight, and make money in the next 2 or 3 days, straight to your bank account. Now, is it likely that you do that? Absolutely not. You probably won't pay attention that long, or you think there's some better ways to do it than what I'm telling you, but I promise you it's possible. So as you can see here, the goal today is to teach you how to get from $0 to $300 profit a day with digital products. No audience, no making content, and you can start with less than 200 bucks. And you can do it all completely AI. I didn't put that on here, but that's a very important part of the process. So let's get into a little overview so you know it's worth it to stick around. So what's the goal? The goal is $300 a day. And that is because, I don't know, 8-10 years ago when I started making money online, my goal was I'm going to get to $300 a day, which is around 100K a year, and I'll be free. I won't be rich. And on that note, if you are trying to make 25K a month, 100K a month, okay, not the video for you. Go somewhere else. You can make your 50K a month somewhere else, because realistically, most people aren't going to do that. Very realistically, you can make 300 bucks a day, and it will change your life, especially if you're not even making 60 grand a year now. Or if you're making 80, 90 grand at your job and you want to do something in your free time that can basically double your income. This is the way to do it. So we're going to get there through one of two paths. Path one is one offer. So one niche, one product with upsells, and get that to $300 a day. Or we stack offers, which is multiple offers in the same niche. I like to stay in the same audience, because if you can make it work in one, you can make multiple work in one usually. And this just eliminates the risk per offer. Now, how are we going to do that? I call this the $150 DART method. You can see my cool AI graphics here. But, a lot of businesses require a lot of upfront money. If you have inventory, you have to spend $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 on inventory. If you're doing something that maybe doesn't require inventory or ads specifically, maybe you're just making content for months on end. I'm not interested in either of those things. I've done both. I'm not super interested in those. So that's why I've made this $150 DART method, because you can test really quickly if something works and if something has the ability to scale for 150 bucks. And we'll get in the process of how to do that as well. And throughout this process, remember this: stay logical and remove emotion. You're going to feel like, oh, I've got a good idea. This is a great idea. AI told me it was good. My friends told me it was good. Okay. Well, if no one wants it and no one's paying for it, then it's not a good idea. Sorry. The market always wins there. And then the how. So we're going to get into how we sell these digital products. See, the normal way you sell digital products is you make an ad that looks like an ad. Your website has your product. Here's what I'm selling. It just gives a bunch of features and benefits like, hey, anybody who's looking here, this is what this thing does. And then immediately what happens? You've been in this situation. You've bought stuff in the past. Your resistance goes up and you're just like, oh, this is salesy. You know what you're into here. And then you're into a logical frame of your brain. You're like, okay, I'm not in pain anymore. I'm not like looking for how this solves really my emotional problem. You're just like, well, does this make sense to spend this much money on this? And that's immediate. And you don't want the buyer to get into that frame of mind too quick. With certain businesses, certain things, you obviously can do that, but I find that this works much better. And I call it the invisible pitch. I don't know if I made that up. I don't know if anybody else says it like that, but that's what it is. It reads like a story, opens with their pain. It's written for a specific person. I'm going to talk more on that, on writing to literally one human being. Because, it's more people are going to relate than that one person. But if you can narrow it down to one, I find it to be a lot easier to get the messaging right, to get the ads right, things like that. The reader feels understood when they read it, and the resistance disappears. And hopefully, the goal of this invisible pitch is by the time they've got to the pitch of the product, which is usually deeper down the page, they're already convinced. They don't care what the price is. They're just like, well, this solves my problem. This solves my emotional pain. So who am I and why listen to me? I could have gone into this earlier, but I think it's beneficial kind of what this video is about before I just start ranting about who I am. But this is important as well, so I'm not just some guy that's full of shit or whatever. So I sold over $5 million with Amazon FBA and realized physical products sucked. You see a little screenshot here. It did 2.1 mil in this 12-month period. To extend that out, I've done 5 million. And the margin on these physical products, if you don't know anything about e-com or Amazon specifically, your margin is just low. It's going to be 8 to 12% from what I've seen. Some people have 5% margins, some people have 15, 20%, but I was around 10%, 11%. So that means I sold $2.1 billion of stuff and made 200 grand. And that's good. That's good money, but you have to reinvest constantly or your business stops. That's the nature of ecom. You have to have inventory. And I just didn't think that was conducive to the long-term life I wanted to live, because the only way to do that is to take on massive debt. And I don't like taking on debt. So I thought, okay, this digital product thing, non-inventory, and you're selling air with your words, with your videos, images, that type of stuff. And to me, that was just more interesting. So I went down that path. And what I learned is, exactly what I thought. You can sell half the amount of revenue, 80% of the amount of revenue, and make the same amount of money. You still have to pay for ads if you're going to do it that way, which is what I do. But the ad bill is not nearly as much as the inventory bill. And when you're selling inventory, you're still going to have to spend money on ads anyway. So you're still going to have to do it. So as you can see, search for something with lower risk, as I just talked about, more time freedom. This required a lot of time for me. I didn't hire employees. I'm not somebody who wants a big team, so I didn't really feel like hiring a bunch of people. Something I could do from behind my computer. Didn't have to touch the inventory. Didn't have to go places, talk to people. Just somebody who likes to sit behind my computer. And like I said, no employees. And I want you to know beforehand, this will almost certainly not make you rich, but it will be a start. If you follow exactly what I show you, you can actually start a digital offer in the next 24 hours and start making money. These two screenshots here, these are my WAP dashboard. This is where I host my payment processing for my digital products. As you can see, this is one offer I run. Did 51,100 in this 3-month period. And this one's a brand new offer I started this month, and that's done 11,200. And the margin on these range between 30% and some days 50%, and it averages out to like 35 to 40%. So you could do the math on that. And honestly, I can keep stacking these offers. I'm in one niche, but anything kind of in that whole niche, I think I can just make more and more offers and keep it going, which I will. And maybe I'll document it on here. But that's just an example that I'm not full of shit. Onwards. So why is this the simplest business model to start as a beginner? Maybe you've tried other stuff, but I believe this is the simplest. Most people overcomplicate it. Some people do these digital products in different ways. They say sell it on Etsy. They say sell it on Amazon. They say post organic content. I'm not interested in that stuff. I make it as simple as possible. And that's what I'm going to show you today. So you're probably one of 3 people watching this right now. You don't want to be an influencer. You don't want to post every day. You just want something that makes money without needing an audience or content. You've actually tried something, maybe more than one thing, and it didn't work the way you thought. Maybe you tried dropshipping, maybe you tried Amazon affiliate marketing, and nothing worked the way that someone promised it would work. And you've watched enough YouTube to know this is real, but nothing has clicked. You see people show the screenshots like me, and you believe it's possible. You've just never been able to replicate it yourself. Maybe you started something, got a little ways in, quietly gave up, or you're still in the research phase and you think, I got to get this perfect before I start. Try not to be that person. So what makes this the simplest path specifically versus all the other paths? 1, there's no inventory, no suppliers, no shipping ever. There's a quote, I think it was Tai Lopez once. I heard it from him. He said, you should always start a digital business first, digital product business before physical, because the margin on digital products are so high. And with physical products, you have lower margin and more complexity. Most people just give up when they have all that complexity. I didn't know that before I started selling Amazon, and I did good selling on there. I made really good money over the course of the 5 million plus in sales, but I didn't really know that from the beginning. I think most people are better off starting at something that's high margin, so they don't have to deal with the complexity, and they don't have to deal with debt. They don't have to deal with things like that. You never have to show your face or post content. You can, but this obviously you can be the face of the product, you can be the face of the offer, but I'm not super interested in that. So I don't do that personally. You can launch your first offer, make sales in a single day. So there's a lot of these businesses that take a long time to even get paid. Like Amazon has a 2-week payout period. I know the Amazon influencer program, which is like an affiliate marketing thing, has 2-month payout period. But a lot of these models, it does take forever. Any kind of affiliate marketing thing, you're going to have to wait to get paid out. But with this, you can start this offer, like I've said, right after this, and you can make sales in a single day, and it gets to your bank account. Paid traffic means consistent sales once you crack it. If you can make winning ads, you can make winning angles. You can just run those for a longer period of time than you think and generate consistent sales. That's what I like more than the organic, because you don't have to post every day. you need to be making new ads. But when you find ones that win, you can just let those kind of roll. When with organic content, you might have something that goes viral, but you still have to keep feeding that engine because that content just isn't as relevant anymore. And then my favorite part, and like I mentioned 1,000 times, can be 30, 40, even 50% plus net profit margin. So if you're a beginner, just know that you generate $100 in revenue, you could be making $50 profit, $40 in profit, which is to me is appealing. Now, let's talk about, before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of all this, the complexity downfall of everyone. These are some like just common failures that I've seen from people, and what we're not going to do when we do this business. Failure mode 1. You're building a business before you have any demand. You spend all this time on all these things and you're trying to get it perfect. You're trying to get it to where, oh, people are going to want this, but you don't know. The market knows. And that's the only thing that matters. And this bottom thing I put here, the business doesn't exist until someone pays you. Everything before that is just the ego treadmill. I see so many people, and I do this myself, get on this ego treadmill. This is a great idea. This is a great idea. But it's like, dude, no one's paid you. No, you haven't even put this out into the world to see. You're just riding this ego treadmill that's getting you nowhere, like actually getting you nowhere, probably taking you backwards because you're actually not testing anything. You're not learning anything. You're just convincing yourself that you're like smarter than you are. Failure number 2 is you pick the ball that punishes beginner. Not going to get into this too much. I've talked about this, but you can kind of read this because this is the problems with these business models. They're just complex. Like a lot of these things just have so many moving parts. And for the average person that hasn't done a lot to make money online, they're just too difficult. So this is why I like this model. It's designed so the hardest thing you do is you pick a person to sell to, and you really write one sentence. And we're going to get into the simplicity of that. But if you can nail this first sentence, if you can nail this overall theme of this offer, you can make a ton of money. And number 3, you're trying to be perfect instead of trying to be right. Kind of like the first thing, you're just trying to make everything perfect, but you don't know what's perfect. Keep that in your head. Try not to have any ego with any of this stuff. Just test it. If you made it this far in the video and you're like, okay, I'm probably going to try out this. When I start explaining all this and you're like, oh, it might be a bit complicated. It might take more time than I thought. Don't just test it. Just hear me out. Just test it. Try it. Try a few offers. Try to follow this process and just give it a chance. And then you can quit. You can quit in 2 weeks, but at least give it 2, 3, 4 weeks and see if you can make something work. Now on to the tech stack. A lot of these videos, these like free course guide videos, they don't really tell you the exact tech that they use. And for some reason, that makes me angry. I want to know the tech. I want to know what you're using. It just helps me visualize all this in my mind when I go through it. Because I'm not going to walk you through like exactly how I build these offers. It's more so going to be the process of doing it, but I'm not going to like actually be clicking, building this stuff. So anyways, I use System.io as the hosting site. I've just always kind of used that because it's cheap. It's a $17 plan and you get basically everything. People use Go High Level, people use ClickFunnels. System.io has it all, so I use that. Payment processor, Stripe or WAP. Stripe integrates with System.io, but it's a bit riskier. They can shut down your account, and they will. They'll just say, hey, this goes against our terms of service or whatever. So I just don't even use Stripe much anymore. I use WAP because they're a bit more lenient with that, and they'll hear you out. Like if they shut down your processing, then they'll be like, hey, just submit this stuff, and they're great, and their customer service is great. But with Stripe, you do have easier one-click upsells, which is when someone buys, they have like a little button that automatically adds the next product. And that's a big deal. And WAP, maybe they have that. They do have some version of it, but to me, it's not as clean as Stripe. So I don't even use one-click upsells. I just have people re-enter their payment information, which is not important to you at the moment. And there's easy automations with Stripe, like where it integrates natively into System.io site. It's just a bit easier to deal with. Delivery system, you can use email. That's what I personally use. You can use Discord, some kind of hosting thing if you want to run a members area or someplace to host courses. There's school, things like that. Automation, you have Make. If you're using WAP, you're probably going to have some kind of automation, but if you're not, if you're just going to use Stripe, which is what I recommend at the beginning, you don't need this. Traffic, you have Meta ads, which we're going to be spending $50 to $150 a day. If you don't know how to use Meta ads, don't let this overwhelm you. You can find another YouTube video of how to set that up. It's very simple. And the way that I lay out how to structure your campaigns and stuff, with just a YouTube video on the technicals, then that you should be able to run the ads. And then AI, which I don't talk about AI too much in this. I'll try to add it as much as I can in here, but I run everything with AI. I use Claude with basically everything I do. It just makes it faster. And if you train it well, if you give it the right documentation, then I think it produces really high quality and it sells, like proof that it sells. So I use Claude for basically everything. ChatGPT, if you run out of Claude credits, and the Image Gem. At the time of this video, which is like April 29th, I find ChatGPT the best with images. It used to be Gemini, Nano Banana, but at the moment, it's definitely ChatGPT. And you can use ChatGPT for deep research, Gemini for deep research as well. All these tools are like $20 a month. So just get Claude at the beginning. You can use free ChatGPT and get most of this done. All right, now into the good stuff. It's been 15 minutes in the video, but if you've stuck around, obviously you're interested in good. First thing we're going to focus on is finding your niche. There's 3 big categories of niches that I like to deal in. There's obviously more out there, but these are the big desperate niches. That's health, wealth, and happiness. You can see health stuff like sleep, anxiety, weight loss, wealth, side income, make money online, debt, and happiness, relationships, loneliness, survival. I put that kind of in there. Survival's a good niche as well. You can try to do hobby markets. You can do things like that. But personally, I've never made those work. And the CPMs are cheaper, which is like the cost to reach other people, but it's not a desperate problem. So it's harder to command a lot of money for hobby things. Not saying that you can't do that. You 100% can, but it doesn't really match the method in which I do these things. Once you pick your niche, we're going to put it through 2 filters. The desperate problem filter. Is this person in pain right now, not someday? A good example of this, like not someday type of problem, is life insurance. You know, people, you don't need life insurance right now. You need it when you die. So the tactic of like getting someone to buy that's a little different than, okay, someone's overweight and they need to lose weight right now. They already know that's a problem. That might not even be the best example. And obviously you can sell life insurance. It's a huge market, but for this specific example, we're looking for problems that are happening right now. And number 2, have they already tried to fix it and failed? This means that they're aware of their problem or their solution aware. So we're not selling to somebody who doesn't even know that they have anxiety. They don't know that they have some kind of problem with their weight. It's hard not to know that, but you get the point. We're not trying to educate people on what's wrong with them. They should already know what's wrong with them. And they're either actively looking for solutions or they just know there's a big problem. And if a solution comes up, they're down to try it. And then number 3, is this a deep desire that keeps them up at night? Is this something that when they go to sleep, this could be something on their mind? This is why I don't like the hobby market. Somebody laying in bed scrolling at 1 a.m. Just, I really want to learn how to make sourdough, or I really want to learn how to knit. Probably not. They might be watching the YouTube reels and like, oh, that's interesting. But does that cause an impulse purchase that like really hits them? No, it does not. All right. So anyways, after we get these desperate problem filters, we're going to go to the persona filter. And that's, can you describe this person in 1 sentence? I gave you a little example here. Teachers who want a side income but feel too burned out to start something complicated. You can see teachers, the specific person, what they want, a side income, and then some problems they have, but feel too burned out to start something complicated. So another barrier of entry to their side income. Do they have $7 to $47 to spend on a solution? Is this market not completely broke? Like you're not selling to 3rd world countries, or you're selling some kind of guide for homeless people to make money. Obviously, you're not going to want to do something like that. I think you find 1 million of them on Facebook. I mostly advertise to the United States, but you can advertise to the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK. Those are like the big English speaking ones. They call those the big 4. If you can find 1 million people on there, then you're good to go. And then I put another little tip here, and this is really what kind of cracked me going from nothing to making a really good income. Not really good. It depends on your standards doing this. Is think about a persona that you were familiar with in your day-to-day life. So who do you talk to frequently? Who's around you? Who do you hear about their problems? So I use this teacher example too. I know teachers. I know what they complain about and what their kind of view on the world is. So think about who you're around. Maybe it's your mom. Maybe it's your friend. Maybe it's your girlfriend. Maybe it's your boyfriend, if you're a girl watching this, or if you're, anyways. Think about a persona that you're familiar with in your day-to-day life, because you'll understand them better and you'll know, okay, what would this person relate to? Don't just pick some random thing because you're like, oh, that's probably the best idea. You can do that, and 100% you can write to those people. But I find if you're starting off with this stuff, it's easier for you to analyze it personally if you already know who that person is. On to building this persona. I've gave an example here. We're going to talk about this teacher example a lot, and you can use this if you'd like. I haven't even personally used it. I just find that kind of what just came into my mind. Anyways, name Kim, age 34, job, she's 5th grade teacher, 10 years in, she makes $50K a year, underpaid, exhausted, wants extra money, but doesn't feel she has time. Maybe she's tried survey sites, Etsy, tutoring, MLMs, and nothing worked. And her dream, her desire is to make an extra $500,000 a month without a second job. She doesn't want to make an extra 100K a year. She doesn't want to make 10K a month. She just wants an extra 500 to $1,000 a month to maybe travel in the summer or buy some nicer food at the store, those type of things. And she spends her time on Facebook, Pinterest, and TikTok at night. And would she pay for a $7 to $47 solution? Yeah, probably something she can just follow on the weekend, something simple. She has the money for that. Although teachers don't make a ton of money, they have $7 to $47. Before you build anything, before you build everything else we're going to talk about here, you need to build this specific person. Everything, the name of the offer, the copy, the ad creative, comes from understanding her or him deeply. If you don't understand who you're talking to, you have such a low chance of making this work. But if you can understand their language, you can understand what they think about, what they actually desire, what they do in their day-to-day, how they consume content, this is all going to work out much easier. A little tip here, look up similar offers of maybe you found your niche, you found your persona. Who else sells to that persona? You can use AI to do this. Look it up on YouTube and Reddit, and then read the comments and extract that language. Put it into a big doc. I always do this. I look at all these YouTube videos that are selling similar products or Reddit posts that are somewhat related to my product and just put it all into a huge document. It doesn't even have to be organized. It's just language of what the buyer says, how they talk. So when you write to them, it's natural. It's what they already consume. It's what they already say. So once we have that, on to building the offer with AI. Don't spend too much time on this, okay? You just want something that you know works. It's going to give someone an outcome and that kind of fits, like I've talked about, what they already consume. What are we gonna actually sell? Pick one based on how your audience consumes content. I put some here. This is just what AI said. Audience, busy skimmers, mini PDF guide checklist, visual learners, short video walkthrough like this. Action takers, template or swipe file, people that maybe they're already in this market. They just like want quicker wins. Readers, mini ebook. For teachers, for example, I would do probably a PDF guide, just a basic ebook. I hear people say those don't work anymore. They do. You just don't position it like ebook. You position it differently. Workbook, maybe for a teacher. So they consume text. They will read an ebook. And then onwards to the one sentence that sells everything. I don't like how that's not centered. Anyways, the one sentence that sells everything. If you can write one sentence that makes someone desperately want what you're selling, nothing else matters. And this isn't the best hook here, but I'm just giving an example of kind of how you can write these. And this is very important to your offer. If you can't design the offer around this, or if you can't design a hook that really resonates with people, you're going to hear me say this over and over and over, because this is the most difficult part of this, but it's also the most simple, because all you do is just test these hooks. And once you find a winner, you can just print money endlessly. Example, how burned out teachers are making an extra $580 a month on weekends without tutoring, lesson plans, or learning complicated tech. As you can see here, we have the who, that burned out teachers. And then what are they doing? Making an extra $580 a month, specific number and what the desire of the teacher is. On the weekends, which is another desire they have, and without tutoring, maybe they've already tried tutoring, lesson planning, basically like tutoring, or learning complicated tech. Okay, I don't want to have to learn complicated stuff. I just want to make an extra $500 to $1,000. And the specific number is important too. Try not to use just how our teachers make an extra $500 to $1K. Make it specific. Now, how to build the content, like the actual ebook or whatever. There's two methods that I find interesting. I learned this from the second one from a mentor, and this has lowered my refund rate dramatically. I barely get any refund on things I launch because of this, because you want to make products that actually work. You can use AI to do so, but you want them to work. So we can do two different things. Deep Research, OpenGemini, or ChatGPT. Prompt it. You want to make your prompts a little better than this. But for example, I'm building a PDF guide for burned out teachers who want to make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. Research the best existing approach to this problem and give me a step-by-step outline and turn into a product. Let it pull everything from that. You can probably do Gemini and ChatGPT, whatever AIs you have access to. And then you need to organize it, simplify it, and then you can really put it back into there and have it create you the guide itself. These AI platforms are just getting so much better as time goes on. They can build you the full PDF like perfectly and make it prettier and more organized than you're going to make it. And I find too that AI makes products that really are better than what you would make, because you're going to add extra fluff. Like, for example, this video, I'm going to say things in a video that I might find important, but probably aren't that important. When AI will cut out a lot of that fluff, especially if you tell it like no fluff, just stick to what actually works, makes this a step-by-step process. So That's just a little thing on the AI. I do believe those products are useful to people and they actually work. But if you don't want to use that method, you can find a winning YouTube video. I was taught this by a mentor of mine, and I find this works best. You can use the above one, but I would really kind of start here because this is like you already know something works. So what you're going to do, you're going to search the niche on YouTube and sort by the most views. You want the most comments. That's really what you're looking for. And views usually means that. You're going to look for videos with comments that say like this worked or this changed my life or wow, I tried this. This is amazing. And that means that the method they're teaching in there works and you have actual testimonials that have proven that. And a lot of times you'll have one that's a top comment. It's got like 800 likes and someone that said this changed my life or whatever. That's probably going to be pretty useful to you. And the product works. You don't have to build something that you're guessing on. You know that it works. You're not going to get as many refunds. So you're going to take the transcription of that YouTube video or multiple if needed, put it into Gemini or some kind of tool. You can just look up YouTube transcription and paste that transcript into Claude or ChatGPT, have it turn into a PDF guide. And make sure you don't copy it word for word. You don't want to steal the actual content, but you want to take the important parts out of there, the things that would work for someone, and repackage that into information in a better format for that specific person. So, like for example, for teachers, you don't have to look up, a YouTube video on how teachers make extra money. You can just look up how to make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month without complicated tech or whatever. And then that video can be turned specifically for teachers. That's just how you need to think about this. You don't have to have the exact persona into like that. That's not exactly what you're looking for. You're looking for just something that works and then building it for that specific persona. And AI will help you do that. The rule for both methods here, the last thing I'll say on this one, if the information already exists and people are already consuming it, you don't need to invent anything. You need to package it better for one specific person, like I just talked about. Now onward, building the sales page. This is going to be really the simplest part because you can test it so quickly with AI. Remember the invisible sales page, the invisible pitch that we talked about? This is what this is. 3 things your sales page is not a typical, hey, buy this thing at the top of the page. Those work, I'm sure. Lots of people sell stuff like that, but I've never made that work. I don't know why. I guess I don't have enough self-awareness to realize why I haven't made that work, but I've heard that from other people too. It's just difficult to make that pitch right in your face thing. You just have to have a really, really good product that automatically kind of sells itself from my experience. And when you're selling PDFs like Air, a little more difficult to do that. Personally, I don't make any images at all on my sales page. No stock images, no colored sections, just very basic, easy to read, big text because people are consuming on mobile. That make it as simple as possible. People think you need pretty pages. From my experience, you don't need a pretty page. Depending on your audience, you're selling to like a young Zoomer, maybe you need a pretty page, but most of the time you do not. And again, not obviously selling from the first time. And what it is, it's a piece of content that gives value first, then makes an offer. Remember, we're trying to tell someone that we understand their problem, how we solve the problem, or how whatever the avatar is solve the problem, and how we've packaged it up. And you don't want to get into that from the beginning. It's more so, hey, I understand what's wrong with you. So the structure, this will go more into it. First, the most important part is the hook, the headline. If your hook doesn't work, nothing's going to work. And I'll get into that at the bottom down here. But we're going hook and then story. I prefer first person. It embeds proof into there. You don't want to lie like completely on this, but you're going to have to just embellish a little bit. And you can use an example. Like I said, this is another reason I like to think about people in real life. You kind of understand this more. You can kind of use them as an example of this, especially if you've helped them solve a problem or whatever. After the story, you have the insight. Here's why everything they tried before failed. So you're building trust through this. Like, I understand your failures. I understand, where you're at in the situation. And the reveal, introduce the product naturally and what's inside it. I use a product mockup. You can generate that with ChatGPT. That's the only image I usually use in my pages. And then I use simple bullets, bonuses, nothing fancy. Just kind of like, here's what you're getting. This is exactly what it does. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't need to. And then you have the price and the button. So as you can see here, the price and the button is way down the page. You want 4, 5, 6 scrolls at least on mobile before you even introduce the product. If you're doing my method, maybe you can put it at the top. Okay, you don't have to listen to me. Maybe you're like, okay, I just want to get straight into it, try it, but I haven't had success with that. And then you have your guarantee at the bottom, some type of guarantee. From my experience, people don't even take the guarantees. So make it as big as you'd like. Home Depot, for example, has a 180-day guarantee, if you didn't know that. So you can buy some from Home Depot. You have 6 months to return it. But have you ever returned anything from Home Depot? Do you know anyone who really has? No. Yet they have the most liberal return policy that I've ever seen. And people just aren't going to use it as much as you think. Now, onto the hook. I'm going to talk about this even more, and I've talked about it previously, but this is what I've learned from a mentor. What I've seen works for me is the hook is everything. An ugly page with a great hook will outsell a beautiful page with a weak hook every single time. And to give you a little analogy here for you to understand exactly how this works, the story of two street performers, two guitar players on the same corner. They play the same music. They have the same skill level. There's no difference between them. One is just playing, and the other puts a sign in front of him that says, blind musician saves up for eye surgery. Think about that. Which are you going to give your money to? Which you're going to listen to? Same skill level, same music, everything. But one guy is blind and trying to save his own life, basically, and the other guy is just playing guitar. Think about your hook like that. There's all these offers out here. There's all this attention people can put on different things. But you have to be unique. You have to promise them something that's unique. You have to promise them something that's better than other things. And if you don't stand out, you're just going to get ignored, especially nowadays with so much you're competing with. You're competing with Pinterest. You're competing with other Facebook posts. You're competing with TikTok. You're competing with YouTube. You have to stand out. And you have to really show people that you understand them and you understand their problems and you can solve their problems. Now, on to setting up the funnel. I'm not going to go super in depth here, but this is just what this looks like. You can take a screenshot of this, just quickly run through it. You have your ads. I run only static images, no videos. Next slide's on ads, so don't worry too much about this. Main thing is just do not look like an app. You want it to look native and you want it to stop the scroll and get the click. We're going for cheap clicks and we're going for high curiosity based, not just putting the product as your ad. Okay, that can work, but I haven't seen that to work particularly. Your sales page, System.io, AI will write it. If you ask it, it will custom code an entire block that you can just paste into System.io. It does this for whatever page builder you're using, but AI will just do the whole thing for you. You don't even have to drag and drop. Funnel builders were great before because you can drag and drop and it was fast, but now it's way faster because you just need one block that's like custom HTML. If you don't understand that, ask AI to explain it to you. It's very simple. You don't want it to look like a sales page. You want it to read like a blog post. You can do advertorials. You can do listicles. You can look that stuff up. You can ask AI for other things. Put this transcript of this video and maybe you will be able to come up with some other ideas, because depending on the market, it's like, where do they consume their content? What's going to look native to them? That's the page you want to write. You don't want to just write basic sales page. Remember, the hook is everything. Like I've said before, no images required, plain text converts. I know someone who sold over $10 million of products to females with just a huge white sales page with black text on it. Like this is what it looks like. And people read it. And if the words are good enough, if they relate heavily enough, it'll sell. For your checkout page, you have Stripe or WAP. The focus of the checkout is just to remove all friction. No extra links, no like menu at the top. Make sure you have trust signals. Make sure it's optimized for mobile. It looks good on mobile and it's fast loading on mobile. I forget the stat, but every second of delay kills conversion by like 20, 30%. So you don't want it to delay at all, any part of your funnel. The checkout, don't put too much time into that. Just make sure it's simple. You can look up ClickBank checkout page, that's like an affiliate platform. You just look that up if you don't know what that is. Their checkout pages are really nice. I like to kind of model ClickBank's pages because tons of offers run those successfully. And there's minimal editing you can actually do to that ClickBank page from what I've seen. Next, you have your upsell pages eventually, but today we're just going through the basic of like starting this. So you don't even need that at the moment. Thank you page plus delivery, instant delivery. Make sure that they can get their product, whether it's a PDF or they need to join a members area, make sure they can do that before they leave the page, because a lot of these people that are buying these products, especially if you're selling to an older audience, just have zero tech skills. Like they have no clue how to go through this. I get emails all the time. I didn't get my product. It's like, dude, it's on the thank you page and I've emailed it to you, but that's how did you have to deal with that? It's like the general pop. So make sure that you deliver it instantly. You reinforce the purchase. Make sure that they feel no regret. You don't have buyer's remorse and immediately want a refund. So congratulate them. Hey, this is what's going to happen next. You want to put them in a state of action. I'm not going to go too in depth with that, but make sure that they're just reinforced and they don't have regret. Now, you can have soft upsell here. You can have, hey, email me if you're interested in this. You set expectations. Tell them exactly what to do next. So when I say set expectations and tell them what to do, you can do that from a perspective of putting them in the mindset of buying more products from you, like upsells. But what I really mean and where I think works best is just telling them like literally exactly what to do with their hands on their phone. So if you're on iPhone, do this. If you're on Android, do this. If you're on desktop, do this. And AI will write that out. Just ask it to write it for you, but they need to know like literally what to do with their hands, what they click, how they go through it, how they save it to their phone, that type of stuff. And then you have your email sequence, which just delivery confirmation and reinforce the purchase again. And then you can check in on day 2. If you don't have upsells from the start, you can just add another email. It's like, hey, have you read the product yet, or have you consumed the product yet? What kind of stuff would help you in the future? And you can give it a list, maybe stuff. And then once you get that feedback, you can just build upsells based off what people already want. You don't have to guess what upsells to build. They'll just tell you if you can kind of start a conversation with them. So I always like to have this like day 2 check-in and just kind of start talking to people. And if you are the face of this offer, or you know someone who has a high ticket of this offer, you can also use that to start a conversation and kind of get them in the high ticket funnel, which is not what we're doing here. We're doing this low ticket, no MRR, no high ticket. You don't have to have that stuff, although it is helpful. It does increase your revenue, obviously. Now, on to running meta ads. This is the biggest slide, and it looks complicated, but don't let this scare you. It's not as difficult as you may think. We're only doing one campaign structure start. That's an ABO campaign. If you don't know what this is, for one, you can put this into AI. It will explain it to you. But also, if you just take a screenshot of this and then you open up the ads manager and you start playing around with stuff, you can kind of figure out what I'm talking about when I'm saying this stuff. It's really not complicated. Anyways, ABO, purchase objective, 20 individual ad sets. This is how I test it. And maybe you know about ads. Maybe you've tested in different ways. This might be odd to you. This might be something you haven't seen before. Well, try it out. Okay, that's all I'm asking. Just try it. Do this 20 individual ad sets, $2 to $10 budget per ad set per day. Your total spend is going to be between $50 and $150 a day. And you're going to run this for 3 days, or $150 to $250 total spend. Depends on your budget. I personally just run $150, but you can run more if you just are really confident in your product. We're going to do static ads only. No videos, no reels, no carousels, just static images. They're fast to make. You can make them with AI. You can make 20 variations in like an hour, and that's what we're testing. Each one needs to be a different kind of hook. Easier to test, lower CPMs and cold traffic. If you run these image ads, you just pay less to reach more people. You might think, okay, well, everybody consumes reels, so I have to advertise through reels. You don't. And there's tons of people that just scroll their feed. You probably just scroll your feed, Instagram feed, Facebook feed. That's where those static ads pop up. And if you make yours look like a native image, just like something else that would pop up there, you're going to have more success. If a static ad with a great hook can sell it, everything else is upside. What that means, if you have a static ad that is just printing, that's making a ton of money, you can just turn that into a video. You can turn that into a reel. You can turn that into a carousel. You can just iterate on that concept and turn it into different formats. Now, the decision framework, I'm going to go into that before we go into, what you're exactly testing here. After 3 days, or $150 to $250 spend, all we care about is, did it get purchases, and how much did it cost to get those purchases? Is the cost per purchase under your break-even point? So if you sell a $25 product, if it's under that, you're good. You have a working offer. You need to build the upsells ASAP to increase your AOV and start testing variations of the hook that's working at the ad level or on the sales page level. And is the cost per purchase over your break-even point? Well, if it's close, then maybe you just need to change the hook a little bit, or maybe you need to make a bit better ads. There's a lot of numbers that go into this, but if you're around break even or you're a little above it, you're fine, because you can make money in these upsells. Break even is completely fine on the front end. But if it's way above, let's say that it's $25 and it's $50 or $80 to get someone, you're going to want to look at the CTR on each ad, which is your click-through rate. If you have a high CTR and no purchases, you have a sales page problem. If you have a low CTR, you probably have a hook problem. People aren't curious. They're not interested in your hook. So you're going to rewrite your hooks, rewrite your angles, and then you can try a new sales page even based on the highest CTR ad. This is like in-depth stuff, like analyzing this data. I'm not going to get into that because it's going to make the video too long. I don't want to overwhelm you with information that is going to scare you off, really, because you don't really need to look at all that. I didn't know this stuff when I began. I just learned it as time went on. So you don't really need to know the specifics of all this stuff. If you just focus on a good sales page, good hook, good ads, that's really all you need. Then make sure that you know your persona and know your niche. If you're still losing after all this stuff, have you looked at all this? Start again with new creatives or new niche. Do not be emotional, be logical. Remember, you're not trying to scale this in a day. It's not going to happen. You're just trying to find out if people want it. If you get purchases, you have a business now. If you don't, either fix the hook or move to a different offer. Logical, not emotional. No emotional attachment here. Likely 1 out of 10 things that you test will even work, but that one will make you a lot of money. You spend $150 or so on each test. One might work legitimately, maybe two, or maybe your first one works. But you have to remember, it's not that difficult to get these to $100, $200 profit a day. So your earnings outpace your spending on testing really fast, because all you have to do is generate that. Kind of, these are like assets. Like, you generate this asset that generates you money every day because you're not having to work on it all the time. I guess I haven't mentioned that in this video, but it's an important part. I work 5 hours a week on the 2 offers that I run. You barely even have to touch them. I mean, 5 hours might even be generous because a lot of it I'm just putting in numbers to see my profitability. So you just don't have to work as much as you think when you get this started. Now, on the ad level, more sophisticated here, what you're actually testing. And you can just take a screenshot of this and throw this into AI. It'll explain it to you, but I'll go over briefly kind of what you need to know when you're making these ads. There are 5 stages of awareness. This comes from Eugene Schwartz, who's a marketer back in the day. He created these awareness stages, and these are from what I have gathered and from the mentors that I've had and the people I know that are good at ads. This is like all they care about is a killer headline and understanding this stage of awareness. So there's 5 of them. Unaware, which is they don't even know they have a problem yet. We're trying to avoid that market. These days, there's not even that many unaware people in the market, but we're just going to avoid that in general. You have problem aware, which is they know something is wrong, but don't know what to do. Like, they know they're overweight, but they don't know exactly what to do to lose the weight, which these days, that's just not really the situation. You have solution aware, which they know solutions exist, but they haven't found the right one. Maybe they've tried supplements, maybe they've tried digital products, but they didn't work for them. So they understand that there are solutions out there, but nothing's worked for them. You have product aware, stage 4. They've seen your offer or offers like yours, but haven't bought it yet. That maybe they've bought other similar products, but I mean, obviously they haven't bought your product, and they want maybe that format, maybe that specific style of product, but they just want it that works for them. That's not even the best way to explain this. You can have AI explain this a little more in depth than me, but that's the gist of it. And then you have most aware, which is basically they just need a reason to buy. Like, discount, limited sum, the scarcity, that's where you enact that. Most aware is, like, for example, if you go to a furniture store, it's always like going out of business, 80% off sale. That's like most aware people. Okay, we know we need furniture. We know that you guys sell furniture. We just need a discount to buy the furniture. I avoid selling to that market as well. You want to kind of stick in this problem solution aware, maybe even product aware, but I would stick here. And then what you're testing, you have the unaware. You can look at these things. I'm not going to go through and explain all these, but this is kind of hooks that relate to these specific things of these stages. I'll go through the solution aware one because this is where I write most of my hooks, where I try to make most of my offers. They've tried things and nothing has worked for them. So, for example, for teachers who tried the survey sites, Etsy stores, and tutoring apps and got nowhere, these are like hooks that you put on an ad. That would be your persona targeting, your curiosity, why everything you've tried to make money online hasn't worked, and what's actually different about this. And these aren't great hooks. Okay, I wouldn't personally use these, but these are examples of like stuff you can iterate on for your niche or your specific offer. You have your outcome, simplest way teachers are making real side income in 2026. No audience, no content, no camera. Deep problem. You've tried 3 things to make extra money. They all took too much time and paid too little. Here's why. You can explain this stuff in the ad copy or on the sales page, etc. But you can test these, and then from the winner that you find here, you can put that in your sales page, or you can build kind of the sales messaging around these different hooks you test. And if you want to, you can really put all of these stages. I want you to make 20 ads. That's what we're going to test with. You can put all of these into AI and have it come up with specific hooks for your persona, just like these. This is 5 stages, 4 hooks each. That's 20 ads. So that's all you kind of need. You don't even have to do any thinking here. No thinking, just straight up put this into AI and have it adjust for your niche and your offer. Now, to recap this full system, you're going to find a desperate person. You're going to build them a solution in one day, Hopefully you watch this video, you take action if you're still around, and you put it in front of them with meta ads. The only things that matter, I want you to write these down. Put this in a notes thing on your computer. So when your brain starts getting complex, you start thinking, oh, this isn't going to work. No, focus on these things. The hook, the one sentence that stops their scroll, everything lives or dies here at the hook. Remember the street performer story. The persona, the more specific your person, the easier everything else gets. The offer, a simple MVP, which is minimum viable product, done in a day, ship it ugly and invisible. The ad, static images, 20 hooks, test for 3 days, $150, $250 budget, read the data logically, not emotionally. And then the stack, which is once an offer works, you build the offer to the same niche, just kind of make this adjacent to that one problem, or you try to scale the one offer. Maybe your offer's in a really large TAM, like a total addressable market, and you can scale it more. You don't need multiple offers. You can just scale one up to $300 a day, $500 a day, etc. Some FAQs. Do I need money to start? Yeah. You need 150 to 300 bucks to properly test an offer. Ideally more, because you're not going to be that good at the beginning. You're probably going to lose on your first test. You need to have enough money to do more tests. What if my offer doesn't work? Then you change the hook. If that doesn't work, change the persona. If that doesn't work, move to a new offer. You never lose much because you never spent that much. So if your offer doesn't work, yeah, it probably won't work, period. That's a lot of my offers don't work, but the goal is to find one that does work that can pay you for a really long time. How long until I see my first sale? You can see your first sale. You can literally launch ads tonight and see a sale tonight or see a sale tomorrow. So if your hook is right and everything's dialed in, you can see a sale ASAP. It's not like you have to grind forever. You will know very fast if your offer is good or not. Do I have to be an expert on the topic I'm selling? No. You're not selling your expertise. You're identifying a problem with a specific person. You need to be an expert in the person you're selling to, ideally, but you don't have to be an expert in the exact thing that you're doing. AI can do all that. AI has removed the expert from the equation. And what if I don't know the niche to pick? Go over the niche slide, start with health, wealth, happiness, pick a specific person inside one of these. An example of this, don't use like people who want to lose weight. That's huge. That's like 60% of the United States. You want to use stuff like Latino moms over 40 who have tried every diet and nothing stuck. You want to make the problem, the persona more specific. It lowers your total people that you're addressing, but it's going to make everything a lot easier because you're going to understand their language better. They speak in a specific way that the general overweight market doesn't really have. You have different niches within the niche. And what if I'm not good at running ads? Well, you don't need to be. This campaign structure I showed you is very simple. You're just making 20 ads, 2 to 5, $10 a day, run it for 3 days, and then analyze your data. It's extremely, extremely simple. And is this saturated or is it too late? There are 330 million people in the US alone. Tens of millions of them have a desperate problem. How many people do you know that don't have a desperate problem, don't have a health problem, don't have a happiness problem, or don't have a wealth problem? Like everyone has one of those problems. If you know someone like that, you can usually build a solution that'll help them. The market is not saturated at all. Most people just pick too broad of a persona and no one buys. You need to go specific and find those specific people. So it's not too late. It's not too saturated. More people are entering the market every day. And you might even think, well, these people have bought solutions before. You'd be shocked to know that people have bought the offers I've run. I've tested tons of offers, but the 3 of my most successful offers, I've had multiple people buy that offer multiple times. Like more than 2 people have bought the same offer multiple times. That's almost hard to believe. Like, how would they buy the same thing twice? How would they buy the same thing that they've already bought? Or maybe they just forgot about it or whatever, but they will. To these people, they're not even really looking to actually solve the problem. They're just looking to get the dopamine and the validation from either their brain or their friends or whatever, that, oh, I'm fixing this problem. A lot of these people, even if they bought a product, they haven't left the market. They just have put a little Band-Aid on their problem for the moment. So I hope that was useful. A little bit of a pitch here at the end. I haven't promoted anything. If you want to work with me one-on-one to build your first profitable offer, there's a link below. We have one goal, and that's to get you to do $100 to $300 profit a day. Everything we build works to that number. What we're going to build, everything we've talked about, your niche persona, your MVP offer, your sales page and hooks, your first ad test, your path to consistent profit, scale the winner, or stack multiple offers. What you get access to, we're going to do group calls, one-on-one calls, full course. I'm probably going to build an offer, build a brand new offer, document that entire process, and you can watch that entire process and how Maybe I fail with the offer or I scale the offer. You'll have to see. All my AI prompts, offers, copy, ads, all the different documents I use to train my AI. And Done With You builds. So if you're stuck on something, I'll just build it for you and we'll test it just together. It doesn't take too much time nowadays with AI and the experience I have doing this over and over. So completely holding your hand basically to build these offers and scale these offers. The timeline of this one is 90 days to launch, test, read the data, adjust, get something. It's actually working. If you're a beginner who wants to launch the next 90 days without all the complicated stuff, click the link below, fill out the application, and we will talk. Peace.